a diver found a massive bunker underwater. Inside, the Navy arrived in minutes. In the vast, silent, and largely unexplored depths of the Pacific Ocean, a team of deep-sea explorers mapping an uncharted section of the seabed stumbled upon an anomaly so strange, so out of place, that it defied all logical explanation. Their advanced sonar detected a massive, perfectly geometric, man-made structure where there should have been only rock and sand. When a diver descended to investigate, he found a colossal, sealed steel bunker, a secret installation that had been sleeping in the crushing darkness for decades. But the most unbelievable discovery was yet to come. When they finally breached the hatch and looked inside, they found not a flooded ruin, but a fully intact, air-filled submarine base, a ghost of the Cold War preserved in a bubble of time, forcing them to make an immediate and urgent call to the United States Navy. To understand how such an incredible and secret place could have been built, we must first journey back to the most paranoid and technologically ambitious era in human history, the Cold War. From the late 1940s through the 1980s, the United States and the Soviet Union were locked in a tense, global standoff, a silent war fought not on traditional battlefields, but in the shadows of espionage, technological one-upmanship, and the constant, terrifying threat of nuclear annihilation. At the very heart of this conflict was the submarine. The nuclear-powered submarine was the ultimate weapon of the age. It was a stealthy, invisible hunter-killer, capable of prowling the depths of the world's oceans for months at a time, carrying a payload of nuclear missiles that could wipe out an enemy's cities in a matter of minutes. The oceans became a hidden, three-dimensional chessboard, where American and Soviet submarines engaged in a constant, high-stakes game of cat and mouse. They shadowed each other, listening for the faint acoustic signature of an enemy vessel, each side trying to gain a strategic advantage. To support this silent, underwater war, both superpowers built a network of highly secret naval and submarine bases around the world. Some of these were so fortified and so clandestine they seemed like something out of a spy movie. The Soviets, for example, built a massive, top-secret submarine base at Balaclava in the Crimea, a complex tunneled directly into the side of a mountain capable of surviving a direct nuclear hit. Similarly, NATO built a secret naval base at Olavsvern in Norway, another vast complex tunneled into a mountain, allowing submarines to disappear from satellite view and enter a secure underground facility. These bases were designed to be the ultimate safe havens for the most important assets of the Cold War. It was the logic of this era, an era of unlimited budgets and existential fear, that would lead to the creation of the even more secret and more audacious installation, now resting silently on the floor of the Pacific. Our story begins in the present day, aboard a state-of-the-art deep-sea research vessel. The ship is captained by our protagonist, a man we'll call Marco, a veteran marine archaeologist and explorer. His team is using an advanced multi-beam sonar system to create the first-ever detailed map of a remote, unexplored section of the Pacific seabed. For days, the process is routine. The sonar paints a picture of underwater mountains, volcanic vents, and vast plains of sediment. Then an impossible shape appears on the screen in the ship's control room. It is a massive, perfectly rectangular object with sharp 90-degree angles and smooth, flat surfaces. It is undeniably man-made, yet it is located in thousands of feet of water, hundreds of miles from any known shipwreck or human activity. Intrigued and baffled, Marco's team decides to launch their remotely operated vehicle, or ROV, to get a visual. The small robotic submarine descends through the dark blue water for over an hour. On the screens in the control room, the crew watches as the ROV's powerful lights cut through the darkness. The first grainy black and white images appear. They are looking at a colossal steel structure, partially buried in the seabed and covered in a thin layer of coral and marine growth. It is not a shipwreck, it is a building. As the ROV pans across its surface, they see it, a massive circular hatch door, at least 30 feet in diameter, sealed shut with a large spoked wheel at its center, reminiscent of a vault door. The discovery is unprecedented. The team knows they have to investigate in person. The next day, Marco and his co-pilot climb into their two-man submersible, a small, agile vehicle designed for deep-sea exploration. They begin their long, slow descent into the crushing darkness of the abyss. The pressure outside builds with every meter. After a journey of nearly an hour, they reach the seafloor. Their powerful lights illuminate the ghostly, silent structure. It is even larger and more imposing than the ROV footage suggested. It is an eerie and breathtaking sight, a secret outpost from another world, resting silently in the eternal night of the deep ocean. They land their submersible on the seabed next to the colossal main hatch, a door that has remained sealed, untouched, for what must have been more than half a century. They are about to knock on the door of one of the Cold War's most deeply buried secrets. Hovering in the crushing, silent darkness of the deep Pacific, Marco and his co-pilot began the delicate and immensely difficult task of trying to open the sealed hatch. Using the submersible's powerful but precise robotic arms, they first worked to clear the decades of accumulated sediment and marine growth from around the large, spoked wheel at the center of the door. The process was slow and painstaking. After hours of work, they were finally able to get a firm grip on the wheel. The submersible's motors strained, and at first, nothing happened. The wheel was frozen in place by 50 years of saltwater corrosion. Then, with a deep, groaning shudder that vibrated through the water, the mechanism broke free. Slowly, turn by agonizing turn, they began to rotate the massive wheel. As the final locking bolt disengaged with a dull, heavy thud, the seal on the ancient door was broken, and what happened next was utterly astonishing. A massive, violent explosion of bubbles erupted from the edges of the hatch, a torrent of ancient air escaping its tomb after half a century. The force of the escaping gas was so powerful it shook their small submersible. This was the first impossible reveal. The bunker was not flooded. Against all known logic and the immense pressure of the deep ocean, the interior of the structure still contained a large pocket of breathable air. With the internal and external pressures now equalized, the team was able to use the submersible's arms to pull the colossal steel door open, revealing a dark, cavernous opening leading into the heart of the structure. Leaving his co-pilot in the submersible, Marco, now part of a two-man diving team, exited into the cold water and swam towards the opening. With their powerful lights cutting through the darkness, they cautiously entered the bunker. They found themselves in a large, water-filled entry chamber, a kind of underwater docking bay. Then, they passed through a second inner door. As they crossed the threshold, their heads broke the surface. They were breathing air that had been trapped for 50 years. They were standing on a metal walkway in a vast, dry, and cavernous space, the air thick with the smell of stale, recycled air and old machinery. As they raised their lights, the full, mind-boggling truth of the facility was revealed. This was not a small bunker. This was an entire, secret, underwater submarine base. And docked in the massive central pen, sitting silently as if waiting for a crew that would never return, were two sleek black military submarines. The divers were speechless, their stunned breaths echoing in the vast silent chamber. The submarines were perfectly preserved, showing minimal signs of corrosion in the dry, stable environment. They were American diesel-electric submarines from the 1960s, ghost ships from the height of the Cold War. The entire facility was a time capsule. There were workstations with tools laid out, old coffee mugs, and technical manuals left open on desks. It was as if the crew had simply vanished in the middle of their work. The discovery was so far beyond anything they could have imagined that Marco knew, with absolute certainty, they had to report this immediately to the highest levels. While the idea of a massive, air-filled underwater base seems like pure science fiction, it was a concept that the superpowers actively explored during the Cold War. In the 1960s, the famous oceanographer Jacques Cousteau built a series of underwater habitats called Conshelf. At the same time, the U.S. Conshelf Navy was running its own top-secret program called Sealab. These were projects designed to test the limits of human endurance, to see if aquanauts could live and work for extended periods on the seafloor. These real-world habitats were small, experimental outposts. But the bunker that Marco's team had discovered was something else entirely. It was the realization of that dream on an operational military scale, a secret so deep it was never even rumored to exist. Marco and his team, understanding the immense geopolitical significance of their find, made an encrypted high-priority call directly to the U.S. Navy. The response was swift and absolute. Within days, a naval blockade was established around the site. A team of Navy engineers and Special Forces divers were sent down to secure the facility. Marco and his civilian crew were extensively debriefed and then sworn to a lifetime of secrecy under national security law. The official story was that they had simply found an uncharted geological formation. The investigators pieced together the bunker's purpose. It was a top-secret forward deployment and listening station, built at an astronomical cost in the 1960s. It was designed to allow American submarines on covert missions in the Pacific to secretly repair, resupply, and hide from Soviet hunter-killer subs without having to make the long and dangerous journey back to Pearl Harbor. The unknown mechanism that had kept the air pocket intact for 50 years remains a classified secret, a testament to the incredible and often hidden technological achievements of the Cold War. Why the base was abandoned remains a mystery. Perhaps it became obsolete with the advent of new satellite technology, or perhaps it was evacuated during a crisis and simply never reoccupied. Back on his research vessel, sailing away from the now restricted military zone, Marco looked out at the vast, empty expanse of the Pacific Ocean. He had spent his life exploring its secrets, but he now knew that the greatest secrets were not in the shipwrecks or the natural formations. They were in the hidden artifacts of our own recent paranoid past. He had stumbled upon a relic of a secret, underwater war that was fought in total silence, a war whose history is written in invisible ink at the bottom of the sea. The discovery of the underwater bunker is a profound and humbling reminder that even in our modern, mapped, and satellite-monitored world, the ocean still holds deep, dark, and unbelievable secrets from the most dangerous chapters of our own history.